everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Conversations with MM. This is another exciting episode with me today. And it's summer, is the thick of summer. It's very hot, so keep cool, everyone. Today, we are going to have a guest, a remarkable young leader who is an inspiration to us all, considering the chaos in our society, the challenges that we are facing, especially at this time where elections are coming up and campaigns are heated. We would like to hear from young people what they think of their future, what they can do about it. So today I am very proud to have with me a young, remarkable fellow who happens to be my nephew, ladies and gentlemen. So proud Tita here. So I'd like to introduce to you Sean Colaljo. He is a distinguished fellow at the Youth Institute for Policy, which is based in California. He lives in Rocklin, California, and he's 17 years old. He's in his senior high school, and he has organized the High School Democrats of America. And he is also active in Model United Nations and Academic Decathlon. He is studying at the Whitney High School. I'd like to welcome Sean Colaljo. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you for having me.
You are, thanks for your time. You are an inspiration to us, the family, and our community as well. How is life as a high school senior, or to be a high school senior? How does that look like?
Well,
Let me know. I don't have any more idea.
What isn't it? It's very busy. It's very hectic. I've been up to a lot, like even this summer. Like I think like for the past month, sure I did go on vacation, but yeah, like it has been a lot of traveling for like programs and all that. But yeah, it's busy. It's trying to navigate like the typical things you might imagine of high school, compounded by like all the work that I have and all the commitments that I've made. But we get through it. We just take it day by day, I think.
Awesome. So, like, what time does your day start in high school? Like,
When I'm in school,
yeah.
probably around like 8. I'll be honest. I get this like 45 minutes later, so definitely I'm working on the sleeping issues there. When I'm not in school, I usually wake up like a little later. But usually I'm staying up pretty late to compensate. Usually around like I want to say like midnight or like 1 morning. Yeah, that's the grind.
There's too many assignments. Sean, is it like overwhelming?
A lot of it, but I wouldn't say it's like overwhelming. It just takes a lot of time.
Oh yeah, right. So you're in senior. You will be a senior high school student. So do you have something in mind? Is your mind pretty much made up on what course to take in college?
Essentially, I'm going to major in political science when I get to college, and then double major in international relations or global, something along those lines.
Wow. Why do you think you want that course? Why have you chosen those?
I'm pretty interested in politics, so I guess that explains political science pretty well. It's kind of that one major you would take. But as for international relations / global studies or whatever it might be called or whatever that might specifically entail, it's because I've always seen myself getting involved more in like the international politics space, like when I'm at an older age. And it's just I think a means for me to like explore like how to give back, I think, more to the Filipino American community and like to get more involved with like the Philippines and all that, which does form a lot of the work that I do is centered around that community, to be able to like further my involvement, after high school and into college and beyond.
Wow. I have read your work, which is on the website of YIP. It really sounds like it's being written by somebody having graduate studies already, not a high school person. So interesting. How did you go about? Why did you choose that topic on the relations, China-Taiwan relations on the West Philippine Sea or the South China Sea? How did you come up with that topic?
Partly it was because like I had already been in their like fellowship program, and that was like their capstone project of sorts. Was you had to put together like a policy brief, and I wanted to explore a topic that was not necessarily being talked about, both just like in common discourse and like in a lot of them are focused on impacts, like in American domestic politics, but not a lot of them are, I think, actually. We're talking about international side of things. What is it
Mhm.
like right now? That's just kind of another perspective that I wanted to add. And then on top, bringing up that discussion of like American colonialism.
Mhm.
America did colonize the Philippines. This is something that I think not a lot of Americans, or even a lot of Filipino Americans that I talk to, know about. And it's something that I wanted to shed light on and really explore how has the past impacted the present, which I think is an understanding that often gets lost in today's society, especially with regard to the Philippines.
So do you see yourself as like a diplomat eventually for on behalf of U.S. and RP relations?
I would say so, yeah, maybe as a diplomat or a political analyst. But I just see myself getting involved in that space.
Amazing you. So do you have a mentor for this? Who inspires you to do all this stuff?
Well, I mean, I have to credit my parents a bit.
Uh-huh.
Maybe they'll get me if I don't thank them on this show. But
Uh-huh.
I really do thank them for a lot of it, because but a lot of the inspiration for all this like learning that I've like really been enthusiastic about in Chicago, which I
Uh-huh.
spent like half my life there, and it really sparked a lot of the curiosity in me. And they've always just been like really supportive of like the work that I've been doing, and like even if it gets a little hard sometimes, to make sure that I'm giving my best.
Mhm.
And it's just rare, I think, to see that support. I like you can't use certainly can't say that of every family, and I'm just very thankful to God, and I'm thankful to my parents that they've been willing to be that those enablers. I'm not sure what the right word is, but
Nice. Yeah. Great, great. So you mean you talk openly about what you think with your mom and dad?
I would say so. Yeah, we have a lot of conversations about politics and just those kinds of things in our house. It's pretty common.
Wow. Well, I have seen that a little bit while I was there in your house, and so you're lucky because not all parents are like that. They wouldn't
Mhm.
even allow your mind to reveal itself. They we're all like boxed in, and they want us to fit in that box. But gladly, your parents aren't like that. So that's a blessing for you. So now tell me about this Model UN and academic decathlon, Sean.
Hmm. So I'll start with Model UN. Model UN is a sort of, like, I would say, like program that like it's literally like a model United Nations, as in
Mhm.
you simulate being like a delegate like of this like certain country in the UN, and you
Mhm.
go to these like mock conferences to like role play the UN General Assembly, which is for those of you who don't know, is basically how the UN gets stuff done. It's where all the countries meet in real
Mhm.
life, of course, and that's where they come up with resolutions and that kind of thing. And that's just how like the model UN works as well. Is you go to a conference, you see like being a delegate and all that. Now, as for academic decathlon, it's a lot more broad. Whereas you might imagine that model UN is more political focused, it's more geopolitical. Academic decathlon is, I would say, very academic. um, Very much like a quiz bowl. If any of you are familiar with that, you on a team. You're asked about math, literature, science, physics. I think they added econ recently, and you play on it. You play as a team. You earn points, that kind of thing.
How often do you do this? In a year or in a semester?
Well, I mean, with with academic decathlon, we did get disqualified pretty early on, so that's something that like I'm not active in like right now.
Mm.
But with Model UN, usually we're trying to get us to at least like one or two conferences a year, just because like financial costs, we can't go like every month or like every like 2 weeks or anything like that. So the bulk of my involvement with Model UN is just helping because I'm like the president of that club in my school. The
I
bulk of
see.
our work is just like those conferences because they're very nuanced. It's not like you could walk in there and just talk about Ukraine or Gaza or
Mhm.
whatever and just hope to get away with it. You need to know like the exact like ins and outs like of the specific policy that you're going to be discussing. And so teaching people those nuances again is just the core of what I do with my modeling club.
Amazing. So do you have like mentors or coaches in doing this? Or do you
Yeah,
pattern
we have.
yourself from the UN or whatever simulation kind of stuff?
I mean, for Model U and academic decathlon, which I'll just call Acadeca, we have like one teacher like per club that kind of serves as your advisor. You need that person. That
Mm,
this person not only lets you like show the trajectory of your club, they give you like support, like all that, but also like they help liaise with like administration because of course this stuff isn't free. So there's
uh,
always money involved, and they're kind of helping us get through that and really make sure that we have the opportunities that those programs offer.
oh my goodness. So doing this, you need budget and you need approval from whatever funding partner you have. That's part of the
Usually,
leadership formation you're going through.
I mean, usually the teachers try to take care of that for us.
I
Like
see.
we're not going to order like 10 textbooks or anything like that, but a lot of it's just mostly like program fees. A school has to pay a certain amount to get enrolled like in this program, and so that's the things that they handle. They just trust us
Mm,
student leaders to like handle the day-to-day of the club.
I see. Do you see yourself becoming a UN diplomat?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I'm not sure which direction exactly my interest in diplomacy would take me just yet. We have all of college, kind of help me figure that out. But it's certainly a possibility.
Yes, I can see that in you as well. So going back to your parents, you were born in Chicago, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken, right? You were, and
Yeah.
then you are definitely American, but you
Mhm.
were raised by Filipino parents. So, what is the identity that you embrace right now?
I mean, it is kind of a common dilemma among Filipino Americans. I mean, first of all, I would consider myself Filipino American. Like,
Mhm.
it's very inaccurate to say I'm only Filipino because I'm English, that's the language I was raised in. But it would also just be inaccurate to say that I'm American because I think that your identity is one of the most important parts of like who you are. It's just like not something you can throw away. It's not something you can erase. Like I am born Filipino, and there's kind of nothing you can do about it. So I might as well embrace it. Has kind of been my attitude. And I don't mind I don't mind the lechon, the lumpia, and all that.
Uh-huh.
But the way I try to reconcile the two sides of my identity, right, being Filipino, being American, is just really like
Mhm.
remaining like immersed in that Filipino culture. It's like maintaining those connections with family because of course family is a very integral part of our culture. And I think a lot of it has just been also covering like our heritage, our Filipino heritage, my Sikihodnon heritage,
Mhm.
and just being again connected to the fact that like that's where we came from.
Mhm.
That every American came from somewhere, and I think that we should all like really honor that and then just be aware of that.
Mhm.
And I think that's another thing too is like if you don't know your heritage, if you don't know at least a little bit of your history, can you really lay claim to your identity, right? Like I'm not saying you need to tell me who was the Filipino president in like I don't know the year 1933, right? But like you should know the basic facts, like the very basic, very fundamental facts. And so that's just a key part of like how I again reconcile like I was raised by Filipino parents who are very much Filipino, who are born in the islands, who still eat rice every single day, three meals a day. They still have the rice. Okay, so that was so
You're a
that's
rice cooker, right?
mhm, mhm.
My gosh. So, when did you begin questioning your racial identity? Like, were you during your childhood years, or not when you're already a teenager?
I think it was more when I was like about I don't know. This stuff's always hard to pinpoint, but I would say probably within the last like maybe 3, 4 years ish. Kind of a broad range, I know, but that's really when I started to like ponder the question like of course I'm Filipino. I mean I always knew that I was Filipino,
Mm-hmm.
but what exactly did that mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was the reality of that? What did that mean politically? What did that mean historically? What did that mean culturally? Because of course again I grew up on the rice, I grew up on the lumpia, but
Mm-hmm.
like what are the factors at play like behind that, right? Where did we
Correct.
come from as a people? And those are just questions that I started like researching. So like that's around when I got really interested in like Filipino American history, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually that led me to writing that article on the Ipswich University, website, which by the way is how we call it, is YIP, the Institute of Youth and Policy. That's just where all that came from, is just that idea of like asking questions. Like we have the obvious, rights, we have all that, but where did it come from?
Yeah, but you know what you did? Like you constructed the website for the island of Sikihor, your mom's and dad's motherland, really specifically the island where they were born and raised. So that is a very heartwarming effort, Sean. And what inspired you to do that?
Well, I mean, I've always been a history nerd. I've always been very interested in history, just in general. And I remember, so that was like late 2023 was when I made that website. I think December, January this year, somewhere around there. And so that summer we'd gone to the Philippines. We'd gone back to Sikihor. And I came back, I wanted to learn more about, the history of our island. Because I'd always heard things about, the Japanese came by, or, this and this happened. But it was all very, like, vague details. And a lot of it just wasn't in living. It was, like, mostly stuff in living memory for people. So I tried to research it, and I just couldn't find anything. Just nothing. Like Wikipedia, I think, had, like, 2 paragraphs. It was kind of frustrating to know that I wanted to learn this, but I just couldn't. And so that's when I decided to, kind of take matters into my own hands and do a lot of that independent research on my own. Because like if somebody else is in the same position as me, wanting to learn more about Sikihor's past, and they don't have the means to do so, and especially if it's a young person, right? Or if it's a person, like a member that I asked for, like myself, where it's already hard to learn about Sikihor. We don't have access to the books and all the physical materials because they're like $6 away. So that's why I decided to do all that research to put it together like into a website and make that just like an easily accessible resource for people. And one of the ways that I'm trying to make the website have like a bigger impact or legacy or whatever the word might be is by trying to incorporate like the content that I've made like on basically all the areas of Sikihor's history into local high school curriculums. Because a lot of the feedback that I got while researching this, while publishing it, was that I was talking to Sikihor, right, people who grew up on the island, and they said, "Oh, we heard this. We never learned this in schools. Like the elders could only tell us so much." And so if there's any way that I can help make sure that no generation will ever leave our island or go through its school system without actually knowing something about their own backyard, right? Then I think, that's how I would define a job well done, because they learn about the Ming Dynasty. They learn about, the European colonialism. They learn about Aguinaldo in schools in Sikihor, but they don't learn about what happened in their own island.
Right.
And I think that's just something that needs to be rectified, yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, that's on top of your busy schedule at school, and you have created those and regularly update that.
I do regularly update it. Currently, I'm focusing on like adding stuff about like the diaspora, so the Sikihor community in California, in Toronto, just all these different places. And I'm also trying to add content about Sikihor today, because again, history informs the policy of today, and that's the mentality that I'm taking. So like, I envision the website as a resource for people to understand, like what goes on with Sikihor's tourism industry, what goes on with Sikihor's, like efforts to combat deforestation, I would say.
Right. Oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about Sikihor, because like culturally it's the island of fire, and it's the seat of what you call this witchcraft and voodoo and all that, and we need to have an intellectual discussion about that as well. And it's good for young people to have that resource, Sean. Really, I appreciate your effort, and it's like strategic, it's long range, it's not just like a one shot kind of a project. So it's really helpful for the young people. So I'd like to move to your other project, the one that you created. You organized the High School Democrats of America. This is really something big for young people like you here in the US. So tell us about it, and when was this created and why?
Yeah, so first of all, just to clear up any confusion, we're talking about my local chapter of the High School Democrats of America. I did not just go out and create the whole national level organization. Okay, I'm not that impressive, guys.
Okay, you're so humble.
But it was.
Tell us about it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so to understand, like, just to understand a couple things, right? Rocklin is a very conservative part of California, which I know is shocking. Conservatives in California. It's supposed to be such a liberal state,
Uh-huh.
but not this part of the state. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
I like over my past like 2 years in high school, because I started this my third year in high school. Those first 2 years, I noticed that a lot of the political conversations with me were very well. Of course, they were conservative, but more importantly, they were one sided. There
Mm-hmm.
was it was always just conservatives because they had their own club on campus. It's called like Turning Point USA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all the discourse that was going on, just conservatives. And there were a lot of liberal folks on campus, and they were always saying, oh, it'd be nice if we had a club. I like if we had a voice, if we had that
Mm-hmm.
representation. And more importantly, I just realized that founding this club would be a way of diversifying political discourse, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
and really making sure that the conversations that we're having in our school are reflective of the conversations that are going on in our country, not just one side or the other. And so that's part of the reason why I founded this chapter of the High School Democrats of America, or HSDA for short, in
Mm-hmm.
my club, not my club, in my school.
So this
And
is based in Whitney High
yeah,
School.
it's based in Whitney.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's any other chapters yet in our area.
Mm-hmm.
I think like this was definitely the first in our school district. I'm not sure if there's any more in Sacramento area.
So is this like a platform for discussion, or do you have specific projects really too that
It's
is
sort of
aligned with the democratic principles?
It's sort of both. So usually at our meetings, we'll be talking about like a relevant like political issue, because a lot of people might not necessarily know everything about labor law, or they might not necessarily know everything about climate change, and that's perfectly all right. Like we design these sessions so that people have got the knowledge and they've got the base to actually start engaging with the community, which is I think is like excuse me, which is the second arm of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
We work with Democrats like up and down the ballot. So we work with folks who are running for Congress, who are running for state assembly, which is kind of like the legislature here. We work with
Oh
people
my
who are
gosh.
running for school board. And so we want to help like liberal students on our campus become engaged with all these different campaigns and show them that, sure, what happens between Biden and Trump really is important. But
Mm-hmm.
equally important is the politics that impacts your area, is the politics that impacts your community, because it's closer to you. Joe Biden might do something in Washington, but what impacts you in Rocklin? And so that's kind of the understanding that we've taken forward in canvassing, which is kind of like the door-to-door knocking for candidates. We've written postcards. There was also a convention that the California Democrats held in last November, down in Sacramento, and so we sent a bunch of volunteers to that just to really expose people, right, to what goes on, a little behind the scenes, that sort of incidents and things.
Amazing. How do you deal with people your age who do not have the same conviction or idea as you? Do you go into some heated discussion, debates, and all that? How do you
I
young
mean,
people deal with this?
you'd be surprised, because I thought that there was also going to be a lot of antagonism to this, and certainly
Yeah.
there have been there's been some hostility here and there, but a lot of it's been very respectful, because I think well, number one, administration doesn't want us to see they don't want to get any they don't want to see any fights, but
Yes.
number two, I think a lot of people are just happy that that there's been a conservative club for so long, now there's a Democratic club, and that now we can have those like proper discussions, rather than just being like one-sided. We have a lot of people who will go to the conservative clubs meetings, and a lot of conservative kids are going to stop by our meetings as well. Maybe it's just because I offer cookies every single meeting. That is a thing I do.
Really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
maybe it's the cookies. I like to think that it's a little more
Maybe you should
noble-minded, but
make
I don't, maybe
cookies
it's just the
too.
cookies.
You should
But yeah,
also make cookies.
they'll listen very respectfully, very intentionally about like whatever the issue is, even if it's something as controversial as say abortion or climate change. They'll
Yeah.
listen respectfully. They'll sit down, and they might not agree with it, but they'll respect the right to say it. And I have got that same respect for them as well. I don't agree with the conservative movement, but I respect its right to exist and its right to be vocal.
That's really great. So like you are like decent and
Hmm.
respectful to each other. That's the most important thing. And finally, Sean, I'd like to ask you about your idea, your concern of the future. Considering this is election year, you couldn't vote yet, but what is it for you? Do you have concerns, and do you represent the young people who are concerned with this, or or not at all? Let me know.
I mean, I think I've got a lot of concerns. I could probably talk for like 3 hours about about my concerns for the future. But I will say that young people, and I kind of fall into myself, kind of fall into this as well myself. But a lot of
Uh-huh.
young folks are very pessimistic about the future. They feel, first
Okay.
of all, that we're not necessarily being represented. If you look at our candidates, they're kind of old right now. They're kind of
Yes.
old. They're kind of old.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the first things that we want to see is more political representation, more involvement, and just that messaging to our generation that it is possible for us to make change. Because there's a lot of things that we want to make change on. There's climate change, for example,
Mm-hmm.
which is an issue that we're going to be the ones dealing with, not folks who are like 80 years old right now, and then 50 years from now they'll be in the grave and we'll be dealing with the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
There's I could go on I could really go on about this. There's gun violence, which of course,
Yes.
is something that's very salient to us as young people, again, because of like school shootings and just the fact that, we're the ones in school.
Mm-hmm.
There's abortion, which, is relevant, to young people because we don't have, families yet. We're kind of like considering that, of course, and we just want to have that, freedom to, make that choice.
Mm-hmm.
There's shoot, what else? Okay, I might just have to stop myself there before I go on for like
You
three
can
hours.
go on and on.
But again, it is that like
Does that dampen your spirit, or does it make you more challenged and
I would say
more
that it very much
imaginative of how you navigate?
I would say that it very much energizes me because again, these are very stark challenges. And another one I forgot to mention is political polarization and the fact that we don't have that decency in politics anymore. But
Mhm.
it really does energize me because I've met a lot of folks, in Whitney and beyond Whitney who are like making real change on a lot of these issues,
Mhm.
who are really, going out there. They're not going to take their fates sitting down, but rather standing up. They've, created groups to tackle climate change. They've created, nonprofits to tackle, abortion rights and all that.
Mhm.
And so there is definitely challenges that have to be met, but I think that young people have got the energy to meet them so long as you show them that it's possible, which is what I try to do, with my club, and which a lot of people try to do by inspiring them and really saying that, just because you're still in high school doesn't mean like that you can't make a change.
No, age doesn't matter. In fact, leadership starts early. Now, let me ask you. I said last question, but no, it's not the last question. There's another one for you. How do you, as a young person, young man, do you engage in special relationship at all? Do you have a
Ooh.
girlfriend? Are you dating or whatever?
Oh.
Okay, I just want to break the ice. Like you are in that age, so do young people go through those things already, or they push it aside?
I mean, I'm definitely like a bit of a skewed demographic. I mean, first of all, I don't have a girlfriend or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also like a little busier. Like I would say like much busier than like most young people. So
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely something that a lot of young people go through. It's just that a lot of it is more digital based. Like definitely something that your generation growing up like experienced as well. Love,
Mm-hmm.
romance, all that. For us, like we do those things as well. It's just more. There's more digital involvement. I would say there's a lot of social media involvement with that, and I think that's the best way to characterize young people these days. Is that we do a lot of it? We do a lot of our engagement digitally, and I mean we're not eschewing like in person or physical like relationships either. Like whether that be a romantic relationship or just a friendly relationship, we don't eschew that like physically like at all. It's just that social media and other digital means of communication are supplements to that in ways that other generations might not have had to deal with or utilize.
Oh wow. So not much on that, huh? Oh my gosh. Maybe your mom gets happy listening to this. Sean, thank you very much for your time. It's really amazing talking to you. And I hope to see you again. Well, hopefully you come to New York or I go there. So all the best and enjoyed summer and congratulations and all the best also to your senior year.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Everyone, thank you. That's Mr. Sean Colaljo in Rocklin, California. Remarkable leader. So take care of yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, and take care of each other. See you again in our future episodes. Bye for now. Thank you, Sean.